We're here at the MCHA Gallery where it's an institutional residency with the Museum of Contemporary Art Cleveland. We're happy to be here, and we're continuing to uplift the voices of the underserved artists. Michael Russell.
I'm Antwoine Washington.
Antwoine Washington. And we have a special guest and artist who is exhibiting his work here at MCHA, Aaron Williams. Man, we appreciate you being here with us, man.
I appreciate you for you guys having me out.
Right now, I can't help but to be excited about the response from the show. It was just so many folks that came out to support you. So man, congratulations again. I have to continue to say that to you because it's a lot to take on, but you stepped up, and as we see around, we couldn't be more happy for you, man.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, everything, like you said, the response for the show has been like remarkable, very uplifting, and ultimately, I'm feeling recharged and really looking forward to what I have coming next.
The name of the show was Awful Aaron. What made you choose Awful Aaron?
Well, I went with Awful Aaron. I was coming to a point with my career where I needed to be really intentional with what I wanted to do. I've been creating art for a very long time, and I wanted to really take it to the next level. So I needed to find a way to reinvent myself, and Awful Aaron provided a way for me to be an artist and operate as a business, or operate however I need to, and also separate the brand and separate the art from the person in a way to where I'd be able to maneuver as a creative firm, as a brand, however I so choose, but then also can still remain Aaron Williams, when everything is all said and done. So just providing that space.
So like a Bruce Wayne, Batman type of.
Exactly, yeah. So Awful Aaron is more simply put, that's my alias.
So when you talk about imagination, so we deal with young people in doing workshops often in the community, and we talk about imagination, we talk about creativity. As a child, were you really imaginative? Would you say that you kind of kept that going, throughout your entire life, just being a creative? Were you really imaginative? Were you dreaming a lot? Could you see yourself becoming who you are today?
As a young child, I've always been very in tune with my imagination. Just how I absorbed cartoons. Having older cousins who, they did a lot of drawing and stuff like that. That's really what introduced me to that form of mark making. Being around them, watching them draw cartoons, and just thinking that was like the coolest thing ever. So
that was like your introduction, but also your inspiration behind everything that you're doing.
And so now basically, you introduce drawing. Yeah, you introduce drawing, and now that's when I became aware of my imagination, because I realized that I was that's where I was pulling from.
Gotcha.
At a young age, I didn't know it was called imagination, but I got in trouble a lot as a kid. I was,
Let's talk about that. Let's get into
it. So just in terms of me, I always needed something to do. I always was kind of okay, what's the move today? I was Tommy Pickles.
Okay.
Growing up, that type of, So having art gave me something to lock into.
Is that something that you would say that kept you focused, kept you? I don't want to say out of trouble, because as a kid, you kind of, by default, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah. So what I would say is I always stayed in trouble, but having art gave me a way to take a lot of that curiosity, a lot of the stuff that would get me in trouble. Art gave it a home. So whether it was my curiosity, just wanted to explore materials, just wanted to get my hands on things and break it, just so that I could try to put it back together. My problem solving,
critical thinking.
It really it was pulling a lot of things out of me that really made the foundation of me wanting to be an artist. a lot of the things that I was introduced to or I was doing, I didn't really even appreciate it until, you know, years later, once I'm now introduced to like actually being in school, going to school with other kids, and then having platforms or having the space to be in art classes and to craft and create. It wasn't until I received that attention from like outside of my village,
core group.
yeah, that it was like, oh, okay, this is a little different. Like my, I'm appreciating this a little different, I guess.
So what I want to kind of expound on too is like the materials. What was that material that you kind of came into loving as a child? Like, what was it? Crayons? Was it color pencils? Was it pencil? Marker?
I mean, we was growing up in the hood, so we definitely didn't have, you know, so color pencils and like the art store wasn't introduced into my life until like high school years. So everything up to that point, just charcoal, pencil, just anything I could find around the house. Yeah. But like pencils gave me the most range to kind of just to do whatever. Like me wanting to have that control, like a pencil having that fine point allowed that, you know. Whereas having I shied away from painting and stuff like that because it was messy and I wasn't really interested in dealing with the other stuff. So I really shied away from it and I locked into drawing, and that was just my thing.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting how as a young person, you were into art, you were imaginative and all these different things. The trouble that you were getting into, you used that to kind of concentrate on your art, to kind of take you away from getting in trouble. So I think that's key, because the young people that could possibly listen to this one day, we want them to be able to be inspired, but to also use the helpful tips that you're giving today. So I appreciate that, man. So who encouraged you as a young person to say, you know what, Aaron, go ahead, continue to do what you're doing? So to be free and talk about that real quick, to say who influenced you as a young person?
So between my mother and my grandfather, I would say those were like the two. Between those two individuals, they really gave me tools that I needed as a man to have the confidence that I need to be an artist. So like that's one part of it. And then as far as actually getting me to get my art confidence up, a lot of art teachers that I had throughout the years, but specifically Cheryl Palmer, which was my seventh grade art teacher, and Edith Mellon, which was my 11th, 12th grade year. She ran the visual communication program at Euclid. Gotcha. So between those two women and I guess, you know, reading books and having stories of like Salvador Dali and Jean-Michel Basquiat, like having stuff to kind of, you know, because a lot of life is just reference and nuance, you know. So me being able to appreciate that, I know that like it was a lot of ill cats that were walking in the paths that I wanted to be in. So seeing what they were doing, but then also having enough confidence in my own taste to be like, that's cool, I can appreciate that, I can pay that homage, but I want to do my own thing.
And I see like a lot of your pieces is referenced in culture, and hip hop culture, whether if it's cartoons, I see Space Jam references, I see different things that's referenced within your work. You know, you taking on like this look of not even look, I say this aesthetic of like a streetwear approach to what it is that you're doing on the walls. What were some of the things that drawed you into hip hop culture? Guys
like Andre 3000, like 3 Stacks, Kanye West, Jay-Z. Really like, okay, so, and what all those gentlemen, what all those men have in common that I can appreciate is just that they are authentically themselves, and they stand for something that they really stand for their craft. Yeah. And because they've been consistent in standing for their craft, the opportunities that's been able to provide. Specifically, Kanye West has been like a really large influence on me because of, you know, we both share just like being Geminis in common.
Okay. So you two people.
Well, yeah, you feel me? For all of the people that's hip to that, like my moon sign is in Gemini, but like I'm a double Scorpio. So like that basically in layman's terms is I'm crazy, but I'm also crazy enough to get it done.
I got you.
So it's just like the machine mixed with the imagination, me kind of realizing that and being like, okay, I see the landscape. I'm inspired by hip hop. I love music. Like I have to listen to music like all day,
While creating?
just in general. Like because I feel like I'm a pretty dark person. So like music keeps me, idling kind of out of that space to where it's just like, because I feel like just being an artist, I feel a lot. So it's just like if the wind blow wrong the one way, it's just like, whew, my whole mood is that way. And I think unfortunately, that's just a result to just being open.
Yeah.
So it's just like it has its disadvantages sometimes. Like when like I'm going through it, I'm like I go through it. So like music helps me to just stay distracted in a way to where like art is something. Whereas I'm so used to doing art, and in that world all the time. Music is something that's kind of like, I can step into that world and be charged up every time.
I got you. Speaking of darkness, I think Mike wants to kind of like tap into that.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely something that I actually just wrote down, because a lot of what we see on part one that you talk about, of the wall on the left side, man, is dealing with mental health. And we talk about darkness, and a lot of people, and most people, I would say, in the opening of the show, and also when I'm in here every now and then seeing folks come in and view your work, they always stop at check. Why is it that people stop at check? So mental health, and why do people stop at that check?
Okay, so mental health, when you guys reached out to me about the opportunity and just through our conversations, I knew that I had a choice as an artist to either tell the truth or not tell the truth. And so in trying to figure out what that truth was and trying to figure out what it is I wanted to talk about, I was like, well, what better way to be transparent than to talk about the anxiety of just being an artist in this day and age now where I am. It's like if I could tell my story and if I could start there, then I can't go wrong. So I was like, let me just start with my story. Let me just get that out. I'll treat this like, a Jay-Z or a Nas or, any of my peers that do music, and just understanding how getting that story out and giving people a piece of the man to digest first before getting into like the super trippy stuff. I wanted to establish a connection with people. So mental health and being like, well, that's something that I can definitely like speak on because I deal with it every day. So I was like, okay, cool, let's start there.
So I know during the time when me and you were having conversations, I know it was a lot about you trying to find your voice. And I think what's very important for artists in general, whether they're technically good at art, if you don't have a voice and you don't have anything to say, then sometimes, people will say your art is beautiful, but no one connects to it. And so I think what you did beautifully here is you allow people to connect. And so, with that chess piece, I know Mike was talking about it. What is it that you think that draws people to that one in particular? Because every time we come in, people seem to like stop there. So what is it about that piece that caused you to create it?
So knowing that, I wanted to treat this as like a mental, like a movie. Like I want each piece to essentially guide you and take you into the next piece. Check. Well, understanding what story I was trying to tell, which was my story, and just being like, okay, like this is from like the time of the riots and when George Floyd was killed, and me being like, okay, what is my voice? What am I about to get out here and talk about? To then like having that internal battle, having like anxiety attacks, like going through depression, like always going through anxiety, whether one degree or another, just having all of these things. but recognizing the fact that I was going through this stuff and being like, okay, how can I address this in a way that's palatable, inject the sports. But knowing that like me talking about my trauma and what I'm dealing with and the fact that we all deal with it, like I wanted that to be like the conversation piece with my show. So me knowing that was the scope of my story, I picked sports that would relate and help me tell that story. Basketball, no brainer. Everybody loves basketball. I know that and also personally knowing my relationship to basketball and just growing up in that community, just knowing that like.
But you was trash in basketball, right?
I was decent. No, I was not hooping at all. But I always had all of the respect from all of the athletes because of my drive. I always was able to live vicariously through like athletes and like my athletic homies because it's like, I'll play sports. I'll get down. But like I'm more so interested in that mental stimulation.
Absolutely.
So it's like I like always appreciated the game of Jordan, but like to me it's like the coach.
Gotcha.
That's coaching Jordan to me is
so the
just
Phil Jackson,
as impressive. Yeah, absolutely.
When you were creating that piece, I mean, for me, it's like the game of life. So I understand like what you mean by it being relatable with using the different sports. And so when you standing there, it's a depiction of yourself standing in front of like, this group of white men and chessboards. Mm-hmm. And so what made you choose white men in particularly? Mm-hmm. And what made you put yourself there? Also, I can relate to that. And I'm pretty sure everyone in the audience at some point in their life can relate to that. Mm-hmm. What was it that really put you in that mindset?
I mean, going through it, man. I mean, because so everything that's going on this side is reflecting, what's going on over here in terms of me doing commissions, in terms of me being in this art space for the very first time, When it comes to the piece Check, that piece comes after the football piece, and to give context with the football piece, that piece is capturing my first anxiety attack. Right. So coming out of an anxiety attack and kind of just recouping and just understanding that, like, as an artist, I have to protect my energy. As a Black male, I have to protect my energy, importantly. But like as that much so as like as an artist, that really started the rebuilding period. So it's like then the very next scene you see me now being in conversations with these institutions.
So do you look at the institutional figures? I mean, because I see a common theme too of like demonic figures too, like devils, demons, those type of things too. So is that something too that you were dealing with at the time? Like you feeling like the institution itself, but the people maybe in them or that's operating them, could that be a tie into some of those demonic forces, or is it something that you're just personally dealing with?
Yeah. So the term I wouldn't necessarily consider them demonic because like though they're scary, I just look at them as like misunderstood intentions or like ulterior motives a lot of times. The energy that they give off is more important almost than like the figure that is there. A lot of those for Check specifically, it's like me dealing with these institutions and then these institutions having their own motives. Yeah. And me just being me. Okay. And but also showing up and being like, yeah, I'm here. My focus isn't necessarily going anywhere. That was the whole like essence of that piece. Like me coming from my anxiety attack and now being like, okay, I'm good. I'm here. I'm stronger. Mm-hmm. Me showing up in that aspect and me getting through, being in negotiations that like I have no business being in, and then also coming out of those negotiations being me still is that piece, like that I'm still in that space. A lot of people ask me like, oh, where do you feel like you are now? And I spend time in all of these pieces every day, several times a week, it's a constant, battle. Absolutely. Gotcha. So another thing I'll say about Check, like if you notice, really, so from Check through the last 3 pieces, I'm starting to build a world where like the people are starting to now communicate with each other. You're starting to notice that like, okay, like certain people are wearing suits, I'm always green, like I'm always green.
And that's
Certain people are wearing
intentional.
suits. Yeah, absolutely. So everything in my work, what I've always appreciated about the genius of Basquiat is that like you could look at his work and feel like you could do it too. But you can't though.
Yeah,
You
super
can't at all.
complex.
Yeah. Because with seeing Basquiat's work and then being like, okay, I think I understand it, but then disregarding his genius completely is just like where a lot of people might not be able to appreciate him how I can appreciate him.
And I can see that with the layering, with the marker, the constant scribbling things out and bringing them and making you draw more into what is scribbled out, even with the faces in the back. Kind of gives me that feel of what you're saying, of complexity that someone could probably say, well, I can do that, or my 5-year-old did that. But in reality, that was done with intention.
My work is very far. My work is far from arbitrary because even creating it like requires me doing research and me really trying to pull references. Me, I treat every project like homework. Like every piece that leaves the lab, like it's leaving its own thing. Like it's full grown.
So this is yours. So this would be considered your thumbprint. This is why it's so complicated to even duplicate what you're doing. No one can do the same because this is your journey. This is what your experience. I think that in itself, man, it makes me appreciate art, makes me appreciate you even more for telling the truth and displaying it in this way that people can relate to. And I just think that in itself, man, is powerful, man. So again, I continue to salute you because I think that there's more to come later on. What is this your first show? And I ask you that because coming into this, I wanted to know as little as possible because I wanted it to be organic and me getting to know more about you. So is this your first show?
Yes, this is my first official solo show.
Would you say that you were nervous coming into this? I know you said you had all the anxieties and et cetera, but once you have the body of work done, even to display it, to say, okay, to the world, you can come and check this out. What kind of nerves came along with that, if you can kind of bring people in, or if not?
Leading up to the show, I didn't know what to expect at all. It was my anxiety idled at like very high because like having a show and if anyone knows me, like I'm already a perfectionist.
Okay.
So when I feel like, okay, I'm gonna have the stage, like I'm like, okay, bring in the balloons, we're gonna get some giraffes, we're gonna do it real big because that's just, I want my art to reflect how I like to appreciate life and like to, I like nice things. So I wanted my show to, I wanted my vision to get across. I wanted people to get a sense of me as an artist because with it being the first show, I understand how first impressions work. Also making sure that like, okay, I'm getting this platform, so like who can I bring along? Yeah. So all of these things that I'm naming is like why I stayed anxious because for me it was making sure that all of these pieces were in place, similar to like what you guys had going and making sure everything was laced together. Like I know that I had to bring my portion to the table. Absolutely. So, but I was told though that like a lot of the anxiety and everything I was feeling was good because it just meant that I cared. Absolutely. So that reassured me to stay anxious as heck, but just to get through it,
I think some form of anxiety is good. I think you not knowing what's coming ahead, it leaves you optimistic about the future and everything like that. So let's talk about too a little bit about what's behind us, this basketball court. Man, I got so I get chills when I look at that piece because I come from the crate, number one, and then leading up to the professional goal. I mean, so many people can relate to that in life in general. Yeah. What inspired that for you to construct that piece in that way?
Really, if I could pick out like key words, of how I wanted this exhibition to feel. I wanted it to feel transparent, transparency, growth, and relatability, maybe. Yeah. Just based off of those things. This piece behind me, with growth being like one of the things that I wanted people to be able to take away from this, like kind of seeing where I was and seeing where I am now before meeting me, and then kind of just putting that into perspective with like the whole picture. The piece behind me was an opportunity to really show that, you know, my genius is broad and how it can be applied.
And I see you have this ball too. Mm-hmm. Like tie in with the ball, mm-hmm. the tie in with this piece here. Like you're at draft day. I mean, look at the press conference. I mean, mm-hmm. this is all out of your brain. Uh-huh. Like even the setup that everyone is in right now was out of your brain. Mm-hmm. Like the influence that came along with that reminds me and puts me in the. I know you mentioned Kanye West. Mm-hmm. You tapping into that type of, you know, creativity is just, it's astounding to me, and I tip my hat to you for you, this being your first show and you being such a young artist in the game. I see that if you're doing this now, I can only imagine 20 years from now where you will be at. So man, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So and then to go back and think about you as a young child, which is at mm-hmm. the crate. Mm-hmm. And the progression, I can only think about the young people who are going to be listening to this, and that you're going to be impacting in the community, and how they can relate to this process, mm-hmm. and how they can say, if I'm labeled with all these other things, the ADHDs and the getting in trouble and getting suspended from school and all these different things, if I can be labeled with these things, I can also be labeled as gifted as an artist. Mm-hmm. We have to continue to speak into their lives so that they can eventually continue to grow, continue on this journey, and become a great artist in whatever capacity that is. So that's another reason why we continue to speak into you as well, because we have to continue to support each other and support the community of artists who are here in Cleveland. Because it's so important. It's so many people that don't get this opportunity. You got it and you nailed it. And so I look forward to you also reaching back mm-hmm. and saying, hey, to the next person, to the next young person, because it's so important. So as I'm looking at Collinwood High School right here, I spent some time there working with you, and you do murals. This was a part of a mural?
The two pieces that I have on display that are the GC, the Greater Collinwood Development Corporation, those are commissions that I have with them, and they'll actually be banners. Okay. So I want to say 30 by 70 feet.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they'll be down in like the Collinwood Village 5 Points area. Okay. But in terms of doing the murals, I do have a mural opportunity down there that is scheduled to have a mural down there early September.
Okay. And these are murals that are going to be up, or banners that are going to be up right now currently, or people can go and see them?
Yeah. So all of that should be up by this fall.
Okay. So there is a separation I see with Aaron Williams and Awful Aaron. Uh-huh. And so you want people to continue to know that there is this separation?
Absolutely. Well, I know it may get a bit confusing. Mm-hmm. So I guess like the oversimplified version would be Awful Aaron would be, you know, that would be like more like my pack son. You know, that's my journeys, that's my mall brand. That's the more accessible, you know, that's where like things like merch and like I'll be able to kind of explore different avenues like the do-rag and other different items. Whereas Aaron DeMonte Williams as a person and as a brand, that would be, you know, that would be more high end. That would be more, you know, like the Nike collab, Adidas, gotcha. Like they would be working with Aaron Williams, gotcha. in that aspect. Gotcha. Or also in a sense to where if it makes sense, I'm also collaborating, with people through Awful Aaron as well. Mm-hmm. So the great thing about me having this creative firm, or just me being a contemporary artist, but then also having like a business as well, kind of playing along that line of more so entrepreneurship than entrepreneurship. I'm really trying to get that. Yeah, I'm really trying to get that down, like situated. That's why having Kanye as an influence for me is between him and Virgil and like your Heron Prestons and stuff like that. Like those are guys who
They both do it.
Yeah.
They all do it.
Do the work.
They all do it. They all doing what you're doing.
So I see those guys as like, okay, like that's the mark. That's the lane that I'm walking in currently and what I'm doing.
No, let's talk about this do-rag though, man. Like I got this on, and what influenced you to do do-rags? Because I know I didn't talk about that. I didn't ask that question when I asked the cultural question. Since we're talking about the do-rag and the merch, and you going in that lane of now we're stepping away from Aaron Williams.
Right.
Now we're going into Awful Aaron, because this is all commission work. Let's talk about a little bit about you designing in that lane, in that field, and how much fun that is, and what made you, and not your inspirations on like Kanye and all of that, but what inspired you to do a do-rag though during this time, right? And, your first fine art show, you bringing such an essential item to the public. What made you want to do that?
I love designing things because for me, it's another medium, you know, like if I'm getting bored of drawing, I might design some stuff instead of painting necessarily. Or it's like, I might paint, you know, I like to stay open, and designing products provides another challenge. It's materials that I might have never worked with before. Anything that allows my genius to kind of be challenged in a way to where I can kind of solve a new problem or work on something, etc. I'm interested in. So I really started experimenting with clothes in high school. I had a streetwear brand back then that you know, a lot of people knew me for, and you know, did really cool stuff with that, and that really allowed me to really taste fashion for the first time. The other thing that really, more importantly, I think what influenced that was just me always kind of having my own style and always having my own taste, and just being like, okay, cool, like I know what I know what my vision is of myself. So I take that vision and that taste, I interject that in clothes. So to get back to the whole do-rag thing, why that even was a thing, you know, I want to do lifestyle stuff. Like I'm interested in making stuff that I'd actually wear. Like I want to, like, you know, I want to make something better if I can contribute to something versus just, you know, slapping my logo on something else.
Add to the noise that's out there.
I want to be intentional with my products. Like I care how they're sourced. I care how
I had to untie this real quick.
Show them the details.
Because I had to show them the details.
It's different.
Like, I mean, a do-rag with, what do you call these? Like, I don't know, like it's metal.
Yeah, so these are the first do-rags to have a weighted aglet on them. And you know, the string is longer. Just the whole construction of it.
I see that mine that I tend to go to sleep in when I'm trying to get the 360s. I don't have 360s like you. I got hair now, but I mean, it's nothing like this. It's not this long. What was the thought process of
just being mindful and just being like, okay, like just like I said, going back to intentionality, like noticing qualities and what I didn't like about my own do-rag or my own things, and just being like, oh, okay, well, you know, what if I had longer strings? I could wrap it around my head more comfortably.
Right.
What if I had aglets at them? Oh, well, that'll have it be more weighted, and that'll add a quality of luxury to it, as well as keeping it weighted so it just feels.
It feels like it's not just
it's more durable.
Yeah,
absolutely. So adding things to elevate the piece is like, I guess that's my whole thing. You know, like I want to be able to kind of come through, throw my taste on something, but then also do it in a way to where it's like, oh, wow, cool. He actually came through and helped.
It's like the tire, when they added spinners to it. You know, it was a tire, and then they said, hey, throw Dayton's on it, or, that's kind of old school. But then you threw the spinners on
Yeah,
it.
that was that.
Right.
That added a whole new layer of like, oh, cool. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I like fly stuff. So I feel like if I can't always get it, then I have to be the one providing it.
Absolutely.
Because
Focus on detail. I mean, because you definitely focused on detail with this one and made it that luxury item.
yeah, I'm a detail guy by nature. Like you can tell that in my work, just everything. Like I'm very.
And then I see the Locks verse Dipset, and then I see Joel Santana with a do-rag on, Louis Vuitton. You know what I mean? So you were ahead of that
Early, like
you were early, man. Mm-hmm. So that's dope.
With the longness. So we have. I would be remiss not to pay attention to the folks in the audience. I just want to see if you all have any questions. Anyone.
And you can go ahead.
Yeah, can you talk about what's next, or like any goals that you have? Like you are really successful in like the merchandise and the public art, and then like this exhibition. And are there any like aspirations that you have that you can share with the public? Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate the question. So in terms of what's next for me, I have a few notable collaborations coming up with that I can't speak of, but yes, I want to continue in the area of exploring clothes as Awful Aaron develops, and that's essentially just like a creative lab, where I'm able to kind of work through ideas, test products, and see how the community likes them. If the community likes them, then I'll push the button, and if not, then I'll refine it until it's ready. So in terms of what I have going next, I have some collaborations coming up. In terms of public art, I have some murals and some different things around the city popping up. The response from the show has been amazing. So I think like this winter to early next year, I'll probably do another series, and I kind of just go back and forth between doing my contemporary thing and then doing my whole thing with clothes. And I don't like being pinned down, so as much stuff that my vision applies to, I'm just trying to explore that. I want to really get into learning motion graphics, just finding things that I can take my craft to the next level. I just want to keep growing and learning and taking in as much as I need to really develop into the artist that I want to be. I should be dropping my website soon.
Instagram. If you have an Instagram, anybody can follow.
Absolutely. So social media, I'm at Awful Aaron on everything. So Awful Aaron with 2 A's, so AAWFUL AARON, just like the show title and everything. AWFULAARON.com will be my website right now. I have the email capture and everything set up. So if you go there, you can lock in and get those updates. Email Aaron@AWFULAARON.com if you need to contact me or inquire. And that's basically like my main contacts as of right now.
Okay. Well, any other questions?
Yeah, so I did mention like having art teachers has played a profound part in my growth, because that was moments where I guess having like a talent or an appreciation for art was one thing, but I didn't know what the heck I was doing. It's like the difference between like picking up a guitar, kind of playing some chords and being like, oh, that sounds good. And then being like, no, this is an A chord. This is how this works. This is a B chord. This is how this works. And then when you put an A chord and a B chord together, you get a song. So for me, it was taking a lot of game and stuff that I was seeing in the world and being like, why do I like that so much? Teachers and having instructors, like my visual communication program, that's when I took a Euclid, and that was like basically equivalent to like college course art class, like for like high school level students or whatever. that's when I was introduced to Photoshop and like actually layouts and like how to do that kind of stuff. So that really just took everything to the next level because I had these ideas, I had the vision, I had the taste, but I lacked the technical skill. So the difficulty was that I was in that gap for a long time. Whereas now, that gap for me is way smaller than it was when I was in high school and stuff like that. So now I'm able to take the tools that I've learned throughout my lifetime and throughout like the help of teachers, and I can apply all of that information to supply myself now.
So today is your draft day. How is your mental health? Where are you today mentally?
So today I feel I have a capacity. I recognize my capacity for my circumstances now, and what I mean by that is dealing with anxiety the way that I had during the show, and it forced me to sit with it. And by sitting with it, I learned that it's something that'll always be there, but I don't need it to consume me, or I don't need to have it necessarily have me question my vision. I can appreciate it. I can use it. Like I know that it's there, but overall, my mental health is better now that the show is over.
It's not over.
It's not over.
over.
I was just about to say, it's like,
it's not over.
I got through like opening night and everything, and we're here, and like the reception I've been able to get from the show has been so encouraging that's really had like a great impact on just me, just being able to feel relieved and just be like, okay, like, people really do appreciate my voice out here. I do have a voice out here. It's heard and it's recognized, and that's like that's a great feeling. And now like having all of that energy, now I'm able to continue and move forward and to keep rallying this message, keep championing this message rather, to keep putting out work, and to keep building with you guys, and just look forward to just like a lot of the things that are coming down the pipeline. And just, I know the main thing is just making sure that I'm ready for these opportunities.
Absolutely. Anybody else out there got any questions for Aaron while he's here?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, yes, we definitely appreciate you all coming out and listening to Aaron speak about his work. We appreciate you, Aaron, for being a part of this Artist Talk. Man, we're just going to continue as Museum of Creative Human Art to continue to inspire the creation of art in underserved communities, and continue to uplift the artists who are often unheard, the underserved artists in the community. So again, we appreciate you. Thank you for coming out.
Before you go,
What's up?
Just understand that he's one of our own here in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. So let's continue to encourage this young man right here, because for this to be his first show, man, this is talent right here. And if we didn't have what we had, or we're not creating organizations around in the city where we can find talent like this, everyone overlooked him. He's been here the whole time. So let's just continue to encourage this young man right here. Much love.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, I thank you, Antwoine, for mentioning that. So we have to also thank the Museum of Contemporary Art for just allowing us to be here in this partnership, and this institutional residency will be here from all the way to 2022. And so we're just appreciative. We're going to continue to inspire the community. But then also, we have to thank some of our partners as well, the Cleveland Foundation, the Gun Foundation, and the Fowler Foundation for helping to support and sponsor what we're doing today. So, man, again, Aaron, man, we appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.